completely new to me. However, I am told, but not in my experience, that re-aging does sometimes happen, especially through international adoptions. If the records are inaccurate, usually it's within a couple years. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's not a 15-year jump. That was just like, that's a head scratcher, right?
The Curious Case of Natalia Grace. Natalia Speaks. 3-night event starts New Year's Day at 9 on ID and stream on Max.
Good evening.
Good
Oh,
evening.
sorry. Hi, my name is Nigeria Chambers from Big O Belt Media. Beth, it is an honor to talk to you today. Amongst all the things you've done, but in focus of Curious Case of Natalia Grace. Natalia Speaks. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Looking forward to learning what people think about season 2 of Natalia's crazy story.
Yes, indeed. Before we get into that, I just want to first off thank you for your perspective and knowledge and insight that you've brought to so many different series and case, not just this one, but just in all of television. It's priceless, it's impeccable, and it really brings that extra added engagement for the viewers in terms of kind of looking at this in a sort of a 360 manner. So totally thank you so much for everything you've done for us as the viewers. I want to start really with the hard question here, and maybe still to my ignorance is at this point of the case, at this point of just everything that's happening, is there any means or any path for justice for Natalia?
Well, it depends upon what you define as justice. If you mean through the courts, there will
Yeah,
not be any justice through the criminal courts, right? Time has passed, time's up. And also, the charges against Christine were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can't get resurrected. A new prosecution team decided not to go forward with her case, even using Michael as a witness. So there'll be no justice in criminal court. In civil court, that remains to be seen. If there is some avenue for her in civil court, I don't know Indiana law in this regard, and whether or not the statute of limitations has expired or not in any type of civil suit she could have. So that's possible. I wouldn't rule that out right now. But okay, so that's through the justice system. But maybe for Natalia, it'll be justice if she just gets more answers about who she really is and what her life was really like. I mean, she remembers certain things, but
yeah.
those first years of her life in the orphanage are pretty much a mystery. She
Hmm.
knows who her biological mother is.
Hmm.
Um, her mother says she'd like Natalia to be with her. It's like, really? In
Yeah,
Ukraine
yeah,
now?
right.
Really? I
Yeah,
don't think so. She doesn't speak Ukrainian anymore. I mean, really?
right,
So,
right.
but
Yeah,
from the humanitarian side, I mean, justice would be at least for her to find more about herself and just to be at peace.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and I guess beyond the Barnetts, just anybody else who may have been involved. When you talk about the orphanage, and you talk about the guy who was responsible for the changing of the age, are any of these folks sort of in the hot seat for their actions with this?
So it does appear that it was not fair for her age to be changed the way it
Ridiculous.
was, right? She
Yeah.
had no representation in court. She didn't even know this was happening. The judge didn't speak to her. He took the word of the Barnetts and the family doctor and a social worker and signed an emergency petition. And then, like, as I say in season 2, with a stroke of a pen, he turned her to 22 from 8, and she was now eligible to drink, drive, and vote.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Absolutely. Something you said in season 2, and although you mentioned you typically don't get personal, I kind of want to tap into that just a little bit more, if that's okay.
Sure.
I'm curious over just the years, and maybe it's the experience and just the nature of the work. When you started to talk about your own siblings, and I'm assuming that this case starts to become mildly personal for you. You've seen the dynamic of your mother pouring out that love, treating you all equal, but overly ensuring that your two brothers had a home that they felt whole, and then you see somebody like Natalia, who I would think instantly you say, what, without a doubt, that's what I would do. That's what she deserves, and you don't see it.
Yeah. So, when you talk to siblings who are healthy but have a special needs sibling, right? There's a special bond, and I think that the sibling who's not special needs develops at a young age a compassion that perhaps a lot of children don't develop, right? Of course, I carry that compassion through my life, but I remember being 8 years old, standing on a porch of my house in Western Massachusetts, where I lived with my family, just looking up and thanking God that I could walk. I mean, like, what an 8-year-old is being thankful for being able to walk, right?
Yeah.
My brothers were in wheelchairs by the end of their lives. They were not little people. They had a very rare genetic disorder that is sort of related to maybe Tay-Sachs. If you look at the big, it's a mutated gene that doesn't break down proteins properly. It's called mucolipidosis type 3. In any event, whenever I see a vulnerable person, a child, a special needs person, an elderly person, I mean, it just breaks my heart. Like, I want to be the one to help champion them in any way I can. So, of course, Natalia's story was important to me because I became a part of trying to bring out the truth and do right by her. Right. Now, there's no question she's a broken person in some ways. I mean, you can't have gone through the trauma she's gone through in her life and not be. And she's really not. She's in a loving environment now, but she hasn't had therapy, right? Like,
Yeah.
we could use that, right? So, but anyway, thank you for asking that. I don't bring it up, but if somebody brings it up, I'm happy to talk about it. Generally.
Yes, I just want to commend you, and again, thank you for all you do, because I think that takes an incredible amount of resilience on your end and compassion to really still hold it together for something that you've seen, and again, by seeing something in your household, you only want to project that the others also are receiving it, and to be a part of such a horrific case, if you ask me, and not see that and still have to speak about it, multiple interviews, multiple perspectives about it. I was ready to break for you, because I'm just like, I can't imagine you seeing the justice side of it, but also the humane side of this, and it's not going the way it should be. It's humanity failing once again, and that's the constant circle that we just happen
Right.
to
It's
be in right
heartbreaking.
now.
And
Yeah.
I've shed a few tears in this case, just out of just my feelings. It's just they
Yeah.
surface, and it makes me sad. It makes me emotional.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I'm curious about the filming process here. So season one obviously really sent the world in a swirl. I mean, everybody was talking about it. And typically with these type of docuseries, they provide so much information that it leads folks to do their own research. But yet there was still so much that we did not know, that we needed to know, and you coming back, being attached to it. And even within the synopsis, we know that we're hearing from you. You're gonna make sure we get all the details that we need, alongside with Natalia speaking for the first time. I'm curious, at the completion of season one, was there already a discussion that a season two was needed, or was it one of those type of things where the world demanded it and you all figured it was time to get back to work?
So season one was wrapping, and the trial happened, and that's why we were able to squeeze the trial into the end of season one. It was pretty soon after. I think season one was delivered, but it was pretty soon after that the production company, Hot Snakes Media, learned that Natalia does want to tell her story. And it was pretty soon after it wrapped. Yeah. By the time it aired, we knew it. We knew she wanted to speak. But I don't know if you recall this, at the end of season one, we said Natalia Speaks will, like, it was going to be a 2-hour special at the end of the summer, right? Because the first season came out Memorial Day weekend. And see what happened. It was held until now, and it was 6 episodes. It's not 2 hours, the equivalent of 2 episodes. So that's because more information came to light and more people got on board to talk. And you see a little bit of that in the trailer. I mean, have you seen season 2 or most of it?
I've seen it all. Yeah.
So you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, more people who could not talk before can now talk. Like the prosecutor, she left the office, a new prosecution team took over and dismissed Christine's case. So they realized what are we going to do? Condense this into 2 hours? No, people need to hear
Yeah.
the story.
Mhm.
This is wild.
Yeah.
So
And was there any developments or revelations throughout this, details from Natalia that just completely shocked you?
So I don't want to give this. I don't want to give away details because I want your listeners and viewers to watch
Absolutely.
it.
Mhm.
But Natalia does talk about more abuse
Yes.
that I didn't know about, and I don't know that Michael knew about, and wasn't in season one. And I
Yeah.
found rather shocking some of the things, Christine, if this is true. Christine's not talking, she's not cooperating with this, but right now we're taking Natalia at her word. She seemed, pretty credible in retelling it. And Michael didn't seem to take issue when she told him in their sit down. So I don't want to give the details, you know what I'm talking about. But that was shocking to me to learn that, there's more. It was bad enough, the hot mic incident, the first
Oh,
season when
yeah.
it was on
Yeah.
the hot,
So,
we're not going to
mhm.
talk about kicking her down the stairs, right? Natalia
Yeah.
doesn't remember that incident apparently, but
Mm.
what else doesn't she remember, right?
Right, 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 right. Yeah, I was interesting, and I think it was when I think back about it, I think it's in fair taste to really leave the Christine versus Michael element out of season one. Although, like, there's a bit of my curiosity about a lot of the specifics of that case, but I think in these type of situation, and as we try to move forward in society, and when we have our victims deemed our survivors here, we want to keep the light and the focus on them. And I thought it was, again, extremely tasteful to really go in that direction, especially for season two. Um, and in a situation like this with Michael and him still really looking for his moments to be in front of the camera, looking to try to, as I like to mention sometimes, like get his stuff off. Like he comes off in character. I understand that he pleads that he's a victim to this as well too. And very interesting part of, I believe, the second episode of season two. Natalia and Michael have a face to face. This is a huge moment, but Michael still pleads his level of being a victim instead of realizing of him being an adult that he should focus on the true victim here, the true survivor in Natalia. Just as a woman, I want to ask you here, you take the professional hat off for a second. What is your thoughts about this continued cycle of abuse that we're seeing women of all ages, of all colors, and now of all any type of disability continue to be treated as such?
I mean, there are women who are advocates for women who are abused, and they say that there is this war on women, in America in all ways, right? It's through its legislature. I mean, the overturning of Roe v. Wade, one could argue, is a part of that war against women. And look, when it comes to people who are abused, and male or female, I mean, I'm on the side of the victim, of course, right? I mean, I'm a former prosecutor. I dealt with victims, and I was their protector to the extent the law allowed me to. I mean, it's a loaded question, but looking at the big picture, I mean, I feel like we still have a long way to go. But we just keep trying. We just got to keep, plugging away. It's interesting you bring this up because just yesterday I'm thinking about, like, I'm still a licensed attorney, but I'm not active, and I'm thinking about activating it. I was just talking to somebody yesterday about this and perhaps doing some legal work with a battered women's shelter. So
I
just
love
like in the
it.
off hours when I have a little time, right? And just sort of work with some women who might need a little guidance through the system because,
Yeah.
they need all the help they can. Listen, there are men who are. I believe that Michael was victimized by Christine. I mean,
Hmm.
she kept kids from him, no
Hmm.
question about it. But it's not on the same level as
Yeah.
Natalia.
Yeah.
You are exactly. He's an adult. He was an adult. He had a duty to Natalia. Well, his relationship with his wife is another thing. Okay, yeah, he was victimized, but let's not. This is Natalia's turn to clear the air. Don't put yourself on her team here and say, you and I are both victims of evil, whatever he calls her, Satan, or whatever he calls her.
Yeah.
But I do believe that. I mean, she kind of ruled the roost there, and she
Yeah.
was probably the main abuser. Michael, by default, he had a duty to protect Natalia, and
Yeah.
he didn't do everything
Bingo. Yeah.
the law required of him.
Absolutely, bingo. Hit it right on the nail there. And Also just want to say to Natalia's new dad, or just dad, period, shall I say. I thought that was incredibly beautiful for him to really focus. If anybody's sitting here trying to figure out who's actually the victim and whatnot, to really put into focus to the viewers that she still is a victim of the age change, as something that she's always going to have to suffer with, regardless of the facts of that, of Michael and her, whatever. He's been released from his wife, ex-wife, whatever. But Natalia is still, to this day, still not only from the trauma, as you mentioned, from the previous shelter and everything that's happening with the Barnetts, but the age thing. The age thing is always going to be attached to it, which is just interesting. And I definitely want to make sure I end off with my final two questions here. Is that was something new I had never heard about. And yeah, we seen new movies, and I know they like pointed towards the orphan. I'm just like, okay, cool, it's a movie. I love movies. I watch a lot of movies, but I never knew this was the actual thing. Was this something you always knew about, or was this something that kind of was new to you? Okay, talk to me.
Completely new to me. However, I am told, but not in my experience, that re-aging does sometimes happen, especially through international adoptions. If the records are inaccurate, usually it's within a couple years. Yeah, but it's not a 15-year jump. That was just like, that's a head scratcher, right? I mean, we can have our birth certificates changed. We can change our sex, right? You know, you're a man trapped in a female body, or the opposite. That's a real thing, right? Can change your sex, but how do you change the year you were born? You were born a particular year or not? That is something that seems to be right, unless there's a clear, like there was a bookkeeping error in a hospital, or some corrupt, nefarious means for there was a false birth certificate. But there should be some other evidence of it. And what got me is that her age was changed by a judge, as I said in the beginning of our chat, without ever talking to Natalia or somebody representing her, or hearing from any doctors who might have a different opinion. And its effect, signing that order, you're absolutely right, has just haunted her since 2012 when it happened. Okay. Everything about her life and the way she was treated and sent to live. And all of a sudden, because she was magically 22, she should know how to, I don't know, correct problems she was having when her electricity turned off. She should know how to do it. She's an adult. She didn't have life skills. She didn't have education. Even if she were an adult, she hadn't been through school yet.
Yeah.
So it just, I mean, this is a case that maybe the Barnetts hoped would fall through the cracks, but man, the production company, they discovered this case when they were in Indiana on another story. And thank goodness. I mean, when Michael and Christine got arrested, Dr. Phil, you know, had Natalia on. There was a little flash in the pan, you know, a few stories about it, but no deep dive like what we did to really get to it. And it makes you wonder what other kinds of stuff, not with these facts, but other things slip through the cracks that really need exposure. People, injustices need to be corrected. At least shine a light on them.
Yeah.
That's what keeps all of us as journalists busy, right?
Yeah. And yes, again, thank you to yourself, the ID channel, the good folks at Warner Bros. Discovery, and allowing the viewers to be a part of this and kind of go out there and be a part of the crusade as well. Which, to my question to you, is seeing how social media work in a positive yet powerful way to dig up facts, to resolve some cases, some cold cases that you know there was no direction in, but folks being so and we're talking about podcasts, we're talking about TikToks, all these sorts of different powerful tools on the internet and in social media to really get answers that we've been looking for years, and give some folks justice and yet peace and closure to some things they've been dealing with for years. What is your thoughts as one of the lead professionals in this, seeing how folks who are unqualified educational wise, but yet become beneficial to the progress of the case?
So we're all kind of journalists today, right? Anybody who has a TikTok page or whatever, you become a citizen journalist. And these citizen journalists had video of the Gabby Petito's van, and that helped lead the police to her body. So God bless them and thank you, right? But it is true when tips come into the police and social media has resulted in a lot more tips. It does drain the resources because all the tips have to be looked at, and sometimes it's a needle in the haystack, and the cases don't always get solved. So it's a double-edged sword. It can be a drain on resources, but it can be so helpful. So I don't dissuade anybody from doing their thing and being their armchair detectives and doing some sleuthing, because some people are ingenious with, have the time and dig and dig and dig, and that's a great thing.
Yeah, love it. Well, Beth, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you. You're forever working, and you already know when you see your name attached to a project, it's going to be a good one. What do you have coming down the pipeline you may be able to talk about?
Well, that's the key. Those last few words are the operative words that I may be able to talk about. I can't really talk about anything else. Right? I have some things in the pipeline,
That's
but I'm
good enough.
not at liberty to talk. You're welcome, though, to contact me directly, and I'll let you know when the time comes. Okay.
I'll be ready. I will be ready. Well, until then, thank you so much again. And folks, you can check out Curious Case of Natalia Grace, Natalia Speaks, which is the second season, which is coming to the ID channel, Warner Brothers Discovery. So you can check it out on Max or Discovery Plus January 1st. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year to you as well.
Okay.